Good evening, everybody. My name's Josh. I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Josh.
Oh, man, I done seen how this thing was going to pan out 100 different ways today, and I'm still nervous to do this. Oh, I'm not a crowd pleaser or a crowd talker at all. But yeah, that is right. My name is Sunshine, and today I'm here to tell you my story and how Alcoholics Anonymous is and always will forever be my foundation of my life. I love to live life as clean as I possibly can, and I love serving the good Lord, but without this program, without these people in this room, I wouldn't be standing here today getting ready to tell you why there wasn't always sun in my shine. Trust me, I'm a real happy person, and I'm getting ready to get to the point of why, if you did know me then and how sad and miserable I used to be, there's a reason I'm so happy and positive now. But the truth of the matter is, I had came into the Humble House a few years ago, and I used to sit right where I was sitting, and they was like, look, man, it's not going to be easy. What you're going to have to hear in this room is going to change your life for the rest of your life. And at first, I thought all of y'all was full of it. You know, I kept hearing remarks, you know, how do you know you're crazy if you're crazy? You know, if you want it, you've got to really show up to get it. So I kept hearing these remarks. But needless to say, the first time I was in this room, I didn't take it seriously. I didn't believe as much as I should and how I do now. It's completely different. Needless to say, the hard part of my life and the hardest part of my story is how I used to experience life outside these walls whenever I was indeed homeless. I'm not saying come in here and act like you know everything. I'm not saying come in here and make a disgrace of yourself. I'm saying come in here so you can learn. Someone elaborated on what listening was for me for the real first time, the second time I was in this house. But so yeah, it all started about 3 years ago. I was in here and then I was out, and I was homeless for 11 and a half months. I used to sleep on a concrete bus stop every single day. I would write different messages on my piece of cardboard. I would wake up every day and I would walk to different junctions and business districts to be able to panhandle for almost half a day. But needless to say, through all my mental torture and physical agony that I was putting myself through, I didn't know what it was all for. And I didn't mean to turn that bad of a page in my life, but sometimes whenever we got to find the bottom, unfortunately it has to be the bottom. And so I was homeless for almost a year. People didn't hear from me. Society didn't hear from me. I forgot what it was like to function. So then, lo and behold, and just luckily, by the grace of God, I got arrested and got to go to jail. And I'm saying that because once you find your turning point, you hold on to it and you remember it, because it makes or breaks you every single day. I have to look at this ugly face of mine and tell me it's not okay to drink every single morning because I remember my experience in jail. I had completely abandoned my life. I didn't talk to people. Half the people that I did know, including my friends and my family. Some of my family is in here today. People thought I was dead. It's not a joke. I wish I could say it was a happier time in my life, which I am getting into. Reluctantly, I was standing in jail, and somebody that's well known in a jailhouse is the guy that runs the cell. He's called the Tank Boss. He come over to me, of course, me looking like somebody in jail. I mean, keep in mind, I'm in a room full of felons. This guy comes up to me and he asks me, "Hey, what are you doing in here?" And I'm like, "Sir, I don't know." And he got up in my face and really asked me what I was doing in there. He said, "Because you're in here, I can't get something that I'm supposed to have." He's like, "I could tell a group of guys to handle this how they should handle you, or you can never come in here again and be okay." The first time I had cried in a room full of grown men was that day. And then the day after, I was fortunate enough to be able to see my brother. Ray came and met me in visitation. There's just a piece of glass that divides you. That's how bad I knew my addictions and my habits had led me right out of the world. I had remembered many conversations with my brother. I don't take any of them for granted. But one of the happiest times of my life was him looking back at me and he told me, "Your nephew was born, you're an uncle." So then I did have a glimmer of hope, being in a dangerous place and living that dangerous lifestyle. So I ended up going back to my cell, and I had a moment to meditate and talk to God, and I still talk to God every day. And I wanted to know if that was really it. If doing all those drugs and being addicted to all that bullshit for that long was really, what had me. If I didn't have anything else for myself, I was just sitting in jail waiting to find that out. So, lo and behold, I get a release date. I had never been more happy to see my brother in my life. Keep in mind, whenever I was a teenager, I was in a very bad accident, and he was the first person there. And he came from this state to North Carolina to see me. And that astonishment and excitement was there whenever I seen Ray. He got to me just in the nick of time. Had he not been outside of that jail cell, I would have went back to the Plug's house. I would eventually have found a way to not only throw what was left, but just create more misery. Yeah. You'll hear that a lot too. A lot of people say misery loves company. Yeah, they're not lying. It's crazy. But so then I get to go stay with my brother. And I remember it like it was yesterday. He was so eager to talk to me. He wanted me to eat. He wanted me to bathe. And we got out in his driveway. And I was talking to my brother about what I'm telling y'all now. And he said, don't worry about anything else, man. He's like, go have another beer. And that was the moment I got to look back up at my brother, and I just said, man, I don't want one. There was something different this time about my life, even being on the outside of that jail where I took a piece of it with me. I don't have to drink for anyone. I don't have to try to please anyone. I don't have to be a part of a crowd that I don't want to be in. And for the first time in my life, I felt that. And it felt good. But for me to have that response and see it go all over his face, he knew something was different. So then I set my sobriety date to 10/5, which it still is. And I'm very thankful for that. So lo and behold, I stayed at his house for a few days. And he's like, hey, you ever thought about going back to the Humble House? He's like, I don't know why. He said, Dante's been worried about you. He said, your room's here. You know what to do. So then, maybe 2.5 days out, I came into the house. I got to speak to Dante, and this time it was different. Not all my ducks were in a row, but I had all my ducks. That's the important part. But sure enough, he looked at me and he's like, man, it was so good to see you. I love you. It's wonderful wonderful thing for you to always be here. And he looked back at me and he said, it's good to have you home. And that was the first time that word got to resonate with me throughout my sobriety. Was when someone looks at you and says, hey, it's nice to have you home. That means something to someone like me. I'm from a town that's almost as big as, the place where this is built. It's not a big town at all. But I had never felt that much welcome to where people were behind him and behind me to where I could hear it in the man's voice. So needless to say, I wouldn't advise being homeless to anyone, because if you're like me, whenever you're in here, there's a good chance you might not come back, and that is so true. So I'm in the house and I'm giving Josh a chance. Sunshine's fine, he's peachy, he's got his hair, but I've finally given the program a try. And whenever I say that, I'm not just sitting in a room trying to learn what people are saying to me. I'm actually listening to what they say. Because there's been many people that have stood up here on the same night just like this. And I remember those words, and it carries me through day by day, because that's all we have. So sure enough, I didn't want to start worrying about money, even though I knew it was going to come up. What was I going to do for a living? How long was I going to be able to do that? How was I going to pay rent? I knew the question eventually was going to come, because of course everyone's glad to see it, but they want to see what you can do. So lo and behold, I still have my first job before HEB to this day. And I do renovation remodel on the side, and when I'm not doing that, I'm a deckhand on a yacht. And it is a crazy experience. And I started doing that the first week in this house, and I fell in love with it. So then, me giving this a chance and spending time in the program, I was like thinking to myself one day, what do I want to do differently in the house? I started lifting weights, I started taking creatine and protein, and sure enough, people kept asking me if I was reading, and that resonated with me for about a week. And still to this day, I can see all those people asking me that. And then eventually I did start reading. Whenever I would share in meetings, it started making sense. And then people was like, holy shit, maybe I have a shot. It was a glimmer of hope for me, in other words. I didn't have to just abandon everything and then want to go back out and be homeless, because it is hard. First few weeks in here and your first few months, yeah, you want to go out there and drink. Yeah. But luckily enough, today, that drink wants me to drink it more than I want to drink it. And it's from learning. So I'm working my odd jobs for my boss man. And we're just going down the road one day. We're just having conversation. And he's like, hey, have you ever thought about getting a job there? He was pointing at HEB. And I was like, no, I had never thought about it. He's like, well, you're one of the lucky ones, man. You got a good background. You don't have a bad work history. Maybe you should give it a shot. I had an orientation day and an interview in the same week after we had that conversation. And that's where I work at today. I love it. I couldn't change it. I wouldn't want to. If I could hit the lottery and still donate part of it, I'm still going to go to work in the morning. Yeah, I have fun there. So lo and behold, I'm in the program, I'm in the house, I'm attending meetings, I got the jobs. Finally, I want to know what's something else I can do to benefit me as well as others for being here, because I didn't want it to be a waste of time. I don't know about y'all, but whenever you let your own anticipation and animosity build up and then you let yourself down, it sucks. So I kept hearing people talk about the next man and how important the next man is, and they were exactly right, because I used to be that guy, and I still am. But lo and behold, today I got a little bit less worry, a lot more concentration. So that's just a little bit of what happened. So I don't really want to express or spend way too much time in that, because I don't want it to turn into a war story. But what happened, I got to celebrate Christmas in this house, and I couldn't help but think about what it was like celebrating Christmas back home, and what it meant to me all those years whenever you would look forward to the end of the year to see all your cousins, to see all your friends and your family. And I remember finding that here. And it was the first time I got to play White Elephant, which is great. I'm not gonna lie. But sure enough, I remember sharing in a meeting very bluntly, and it was the only time I had really had to elaborate about hurting myself. And whenever I say that, I'm saying all the harmful things I used to do to my body and what I used to put my body through. And somebody finally reached out and gave me their phone number, and it's like, hey man, call me. And that's whenever the steps started working for me, before I even started working for them. And it was one of the most astonishing, amazing things I've ever seen happen in my entire life. I never expect to have, all those good stories or all those good shares, because it's leading up to this. But what happened, I had never prayed more in this past year and the previous year in my entire life than those times that I did in those years. And through everyone else's prayers, some of them finally made their way through. I didn't have to look in the mirror and face the problem. But don't get me wrong, there is a problem in the mirror. I have to look at him every day. But I always have my pride. I don't have that much of an ego anymore, thank God. Egos just get you in trouble. But I wanted to know what it was like to be a miracle, y'all. I wanted to understand and fully get this. So I called that fella back. He's someone I cherish and love today. He's the one that told me, the same thing my brother told me. There's a life waiting for you if you want it. You don't have to do everything you just got done doing to live it. You can do something different. I remember that every day. But what it's like is unlike anything I've ever felt before. When all the momentum is in your head and your heart while you're in this room, blessings upon blessings just rain down on you, and everything happens so fast. And you wish you could slow it down, but you can't, because you're human. So you're just along for your own. You're along for the ride as much as anyone else is. What it's like now, I don't know, man. I don't know if there's enough money down here to buy the life that I'm living today. I didn't see it possible. I didn't know everything that everyone else had told me could eventually end up happening. But I'm just like everybody else in this room. I like to wake up, put my pants on, because you can't walk around without pants. People will stare at you. They'll try not to, but they will. I know this. So yeah. I didn't do this thing to my full potential the first time. And I'm glad I gave myself a chance and an even better shot the second time. Because I kept watching people that were happy walk through those doors. And finally, I said something I still use today. I want to know what that's like. And I'm so glad I did. So I finally got to dive into the steps. Yes, inventory sucks. You got to do it every day. You got to figure out what pisses you off, why you're pissed. Yes, that is annoying. But once it's out of the way, it's great. A lot of prayers, y'all. So many prayers were answered to see me back here. I remember what it was like. All those nights, all those days not having this place. And I'm so fortunate and thankful to call this place home because someone else welcomed me in that way. But to get back to the next man, just in case he is in here and there is someone in here struggling just like I was, don't let go of the rope. Tie a knot in it and let it know you're there. There's a ton of things you could be outside of this room doing, and I'm thankful that you're here. I'm thankful you want to be here. I wished I would have had a better understanding about all those times whenever I was a kid and they said, that's going to come back to haunt you. Man, they was right. They was right. And I wish I was a better planner, dude. That's annoying. But I'm thankful I get to work. I'm thankful the program works. I'm thankful for prayers. I'm thankful for all the people that's involved in my life. I'm thankful for my beautiful family that I'm now a part of. I'm honored to consider people my friends. For the first time in my life, I don't have to look at the ground and bite down and cry. Because whenever I cry, I get to smile and I get to look up. And it's because I wanted to change. If you want to change, just do it. There's no pressure, there's no time limit. Just stand at your turning point. That's all it took for me. But I've never been more thankful and I've never been more honored to be amongst men that had to go through the same things that I went through. It is a big deal. I'm going to try not to say that as much as Dean did. I know, right? I wish everyone all the health and all the happiness in the world. If you haven't told someone that's very important in your life that you love them, you ought to. If you have your parents, call your parents and tell them you love them. I did that with mine this morning, and I told my dad he's still one of my heroes. Nothing will ever change that. But you have no idea what this means to me and what it meant for me. And I'll always consider this place home. And I cannot wait to see what the rest of the year holds, even though the new year is getting ready to start. I can't wait to get back to work. Feels different not working and being busy, sorry. But yeah, if you are struggling, just reach out to your sponsor or reach out to someone that loves you. Let them know you love them back. Let them know what's going on. I always wanted to be in the corner of this room and figure out what it was like being one of the names that's on that board. And now I know. That's all I got, y'all. I'm Josh. I'm an alcoholic.
All right, guys.